Morning, Ms. Pennington.
Good morning.
Mr. Gann, good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor.
This is Sturgis Housing Limited versus Destiny Wood, set for 9:30. It's 9:29. Miss Wood did log in yesterday morning. She was a day early, so I fully expect her to be here. She had a practice run. She was here in the middle of some criminal arraignments and took me a minute to figure out what she was here for. So let's let the clock tick a minute. I expect that she will be here, although our schools are canceled, so she may have some childcare issues.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And you and I are both glad you didn't have to drive here to Centerville in the snowstorm. And
You know, that's one thing I am enjoying about Zoom is the lack of driving. I would prefer to see people in 3D.
well, it's transformed the civil practice of law, and it's transformed landlord-tenant law. The companies always had local attorneys. Each company had an attorney that they would use locally, and now they've gone to large statewide firms that can recommend or represent a number of people. And now that we can do this by Zoom, it makes it cost effective to do it. But
it does. I think it makes a better understanding of the file for the attorney appearing before the judge, because for me, I've got maybe 4 attorneys that touch my files now versus 40. So we know what's going on with each case.
Well, we do have a number of local attorneys that do fine work, but the complexes have been going to larger offices like yours.
Believe it or not, I've got one main client that's KMG Prestige, and I've been working with them as their paralegal since '97 before I became an attorney. So I'm very familiar with these clients, and I try not to take anybody other than KMG, just because I know the way they handle their business makes my life easier.
Well, good for you. If you got a good working relationship, I'm all for it. This is a termination of tenancy action with multiple lease violations alleged in the notice to quit. That was served on her back in November, and now here we are in March. Here is Janie. Let's see who this is.
And just so you know, Hale Welch contacted us during the notice process, but I don't know if they're actually going to appear for the actual case or not. He never informed me if he's going to actually represent.
Good morning. You've logged in here as Janie. Who am I speaking with?
Destiny Wood. Good morning.
All right, Ms. Wood, I just saw you yesterday. And I thought you would be here. You're a couple minutes late, but you're in the right spot. All right, let me call the case again. This is Sturgis Limited Housing Commission versus Destiny Wood. Mr. Stephen K. Gann is here on behalf of the complex, and the manager, Ms. Pennington, is here. They want you to move. They filed a termination of tenancy alleging numerous lease violations, which we won't get into right at this point, but it's called a termination of tenancy action. In such an action, you have the following legal rights. You have the right to obtain counsel for representation in this matter. If you cannot afford an attorney, a legal aid attorney may be available to help you. You have a right to a trial by a jury or by the court. If the action is for non-payment of rent, a different system and procedure would follow, but this is not that type of case. If the plaintiff is agreeable, the Citizens Mediation Services, Inc. may be available as a possible source of case resolution. If both parties are agreeable to mediation, the court can help set that up. If you do reach an agreement with the plaintiff and a consent judgment is entered by the court, you would waive the rights listed above, but have the following additional rights. The judgment could not be enforced until 3 business days had passed. You could move to set aside the judgment within those 3 days if you misunderstood what you consented to or what you were waiving. Your motion to set aside the judgment would be set for a further hearing before the judge, namely me. But if I did not find in your favor, the original judgment would stand. As I indicated, Ms. Wood, they allege multiple lease violations, unauthorized tenants, smoking, other things. Mr. Gann indicated that they were contacted by Hal Welch of Legal Aid. Have you contacted Legal Aid?
Yeah, I was working with Mr. Welch, but due to issues with me having my car's broke down, I couldn't get up there to him to meet with him, as well as some things that were going on personally with my family, some major family issues. I wasn't able to contact him, I guess he said, in a fastly enough manner. So he decided that he wouldn't be able to represent me.
All right, so I'm not sure what's going to happen, but the law requires I continue this to next week. They want you to move. They filed a notice to quit in November. If you get evicted, it may make it difficult or impossible to you get into other subsidized housing. Ms. Pennington, what is the actual rent here?
In this particular case, Miss Wood's rent is $25 a month.
That's the old lease.
This happens quite often, Ms. Wood, almost every week, at least every month. We have these kinds of cases where the rent is not very high, but they're alleging multiple violations of the lease. And they gave you a addendum listing 50 or more items on here. I don't know how many that is, 30 anyway. Violations of the lease, including unauthorized occupant. Ms. Pennington, is the unauthorized occupant still there?
There have been several throughout the time frame. At this point in time, I do not know if there is anyone additional in the household or not.
Right, but there were in the past, is the allegation?
Yes.
Allegation.
All right, the law requires that I continue this for 7 days. Ms. Wood, if you're evicted from here, you're certainly not going to find anywhere where you pay $25 a month rent.
Well, yes, sir. I know. This is the first time I've ever had help or housing help. I've always paid market rent.
Well, I'm going to continue this until next Friday, March 17th at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
Your Honor,
I will block out enough time to deal with this if we need to. Do you think there'd be any benefit from you talking to the defendant in a breakout room to see if there are other options?
Sir.
Your Honor, yes, I'd be glad to talk to her in a breakout room, see if we can figure something out here. And as far as the timing, I have a 2 o'clock motion hearing in Detroit. Would it be possible to put this on the 24th?
Certainly, let's take a look.
I want to be the one to handle this one because I'm familiar with the file. And
Well, it's good to know. I do the scheduling right here in the courtroom.
He's familiar
Thank
with the file. I've never met him.
Well, the 24th in the afternoon is going to get filled. Let's go to 3 o'clock on the 24th.
Perfect, Your Honor. Thank you.
I've been using both morning and afternoon. I usually did landlord tenants just in the morning. We've had so many cases we've got them filed in the morning and in the afternoon, but this could actually be a hearing. That gives her 2 weeks. If there's some discussion that she would agree to move voluntarily, that would not affect her ability to get other subsidized housing. And if something could be worked out. Ms. Wood, apparently legal aid is not going to be here to represent you. Your company is alleging numerous violations of your lease, you, unauthorized tenants, noise, your children, several things. I won't get into them here, but if they prevail, you would be compelled to move within 10 days. And if you didn't move, the sheriff would come put your stuff out in the street, but also most likely make you ineligible to get in anywhere else. So sometimes, in fact, often the parties work out some sort of agreement that you agree to move voluntarily by a certain date. So I'm going to put all of you in a breakout room and let you discuss this. But for now, the matter is continued until March 24th at 3 p.m. by Zoom like this once again.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Now,
Thank you.
I'm going to create a breakout room, and you just hit the button that says join when it comes up. And I'll be here further if you need my further assistance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Jeannie, don't you? All right, Miss Wood. Mr. Gann is back. Miss Pennington is back. They've indicated they've been unable to come to a settlement. So we're going to continue this matter for 2 weeks to March 24th. I've blocked out from 3 to 5 to take testimony regarding the termination of your tenancy.
Okay.
Were there unauthorized tenants? Were there other violations of material violations of the lease? So if they get what they ask for and they support their burden of proof, you would have 10 days from March 24th to move, which would be April 3rd by my count. So we'll be prepared to address this further in 2 weeks. If legal aid or someone is going to appear, they can do that. And you also are free to continue to discuss this with your manager, but
Your Honor.
yes.
She won't talk to me. I like, you know what, she's supposed to have the 10-day guideline on the original notice for a hearing. She refused to speak with me. I mean, slammed the door in my face.
Well, perhaps once the action was filed, but they've been asking you to move since sometime prior to November, and it's now March. And so they're going through the legal process to have you legally removed from the premises. Everything in there right now is just an allegation. None of it's been proven. But there's a lot at stake for you. And so I guess there's no benefit in further discussing this with her. But as I indicated, if they prevail, you would be ordered to move on or after April 3rd.
So on the 24th, would that be the day that I would have my witnesses and all, you know, pictures, all those things that to prove these things that are on here alleged that are false?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
that's true. Okay. All right. Anything further?
No, sir.
I'm not sure if 2 hours is enough. That's what I'm going to allocate. If we have to go till 8 o'clock on a Friday, it's very hard to find a half day to do these termination of tenancy in subsidized cases. But we're going to go 2 weeks rather than 1. I'm going to block out the balance of the afternoon, and we will see if we can complete it at that time. If we can't, we can always continue it. All right, I'll see everybody in 2 weeks. 3
Thank you,
o'clock.
Your Honor.
Your Honor, Your Honor, are we able to share screen for evidence, or do you want the
Yes.
evidence to you beforehand?
Well, you can share a screen with it.
Okay, thank you so much, Your
But
Honor.
she needs to be able to see it. If you got things you wish to present, the defendant's entitled to see it before 1 minute before trial.
Okay, sure, fair enough. I
All
will
right.
make sure she gets all of it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marks.
Noise when you first joined on.
All right, can you hear me now?
We can, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, the problem was at the Zoom end. It went offline for a moment. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. Miss Wood, can you hear me? I can't hear you. Miss Roth, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
All right, we were struggling. All right, I can hear you. I can hear Attorney Sprague. Destiny, I can see you, but I can't hear you. We just squandered 14 minutes.
Can you hear me, Your Honor? I'm not.
Yes, I can. All right, can you hear me?
Yes, I apologize about that. I'm not sure what was going on with the
All right,
settings.
well, let's start over. I called the matter at 3 and you weren't here. You came in about 5 minutes late. We'd start on time. This is a termination of tenancy matter in the matter of Sturgis Limited Housing, also known as Gateway Village versus Destiny Wood. It's a complaint to terminate your tenancy. They want you to move. Attorney Samantha Sprague is here on behalf of the plaintiff. The manager, Cindy Pennington, is here. There was also a witness from Pest Control, and one of the other tenants, Leslie Roth, is here.
Your Honor,
Yes?
we have other tenants that are available to testify as well. They weren't able to log into Zoom directly, so the property manager has them in a waiting room right now, and they'll be using her screen.
Very good. All right, Miss Wood, they want you to move, and they're asking to terminate your tenancy for multiple reasons. Unauthorized tenant, an unauthorized dog, which is a pit bull, which is always a pit bull. They had alleged the dog is unauthorized, also pooping in the hallway and other problems. They allege smoking, multiple damage to the premises, threats and intimidation of other tenants by you, your guests, and your children, and some other general cleanliness violations that are alleged to be violations of your lease. any one of which could result in the termination of your tenancy. Are you ready to proceed?
Yes,
Do you understand that if this eviction goes through and you are evicted, it could make it very difficult for you to find housing in any other subsidized housing? Do you understand?
I do.
All right, Ms. Sprague, are you ready to proceed?
I am, Your Honor.
All right, who do you wish to call first?
First, I'd like to call Cindy Pennington, the property manager, to the stand.
Ms. Pennington, would you please raise your right hand? You swear or affirm any testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true to the best of your knowledge and belief.
I do, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Sprague.
Ms. Pennington, can you please state your title?
My title is Community Manager,
And what property is that for?
Gateway Village Apartments, Sturgis.
Thank you. And how long have you been the property manager at Gateway Sturgis?
Since January 1st, 2020.
And are you familiar with the defendant?
Yes, I am.
In your role as a property manager, do you assist new residents with signing their lease?
Yes, I do.
Permission to enter Exhibit 1. And for purposes of brevity, would you like to enter Exhibits 1A through 1E? That includes the lease as well as all the addendums that were provided to the court as well as to the defendant.
That will be received as Plaintiff's Exhibit 1 and 1A, the lease and the addendums.
And Ms. Pennington, when did the defendant's lease begin?
The lease began on December. Let me look one moment. I'm sorry.
And I can share the screen for you to review that lease now that it is on the record. Give me just a moment.
I think she would.
December 31st, 2022.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. That's when the initial term ended. It was December 22nd, 2021.
2021. Okay, thank you. And then it extended, just for clarity, it extended to December 21st of 2022, correct?
December 31st of
December
2020.
31st. Thank you. And did she renew her lease at that time?
No, her lease was not renewed. We did start the recertification process, but we did not complete it because we were already in termination of tenancy.
Okay, thank you. Your Honor, regarding the lease violations, for brevity's sake, I'm happy to provide the numbers of the allegations of the portions of the lease that she violated, or I can have Ms. Pennington state those on the record, and she's prepared to recite those.
Witness.
I'm sorry?
Why don't you go ahead and do it through the witness?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Pennington, do you have the lease in front of you right now? Or if you could look at the shared screen, is this the lease that Ms. Wood signed?
Yes, it is.
Can you please read paragraph 10B3 and 4 that is highlighted on the screen in front of you?
Yes. I'm sorry, I've got to move.
My apologies. If you could look at the B portion where it says the tenant agrees to.
Yep. Tenant agrees not to litter in the ground or common areas of the project, not destroy, deface, damage, or remove any part of the unit, common areas, or project grounds.
And can you also please read 10B6?
Yep. Remove garbage and or other waste from the unit. They need to remove garbage and other waste from the unit in a clean and safe manner.
And can you recite number 11 and 11A?
Yes. 11A is damages. Whenever damage is caused by carelessness, misuse, or neglect of his or her family or visitors, the tenant agrees to pay the cost of all repairs and do so within 30 days after receipt of the landlord's demand for the repair charges and.
Okay, and as well as number 12.
Restrictions and alterations. No alteration, addition, or improvement shall be made in or to the premises without prior.
Last sentence, say.
And can you also read number 13, just the section that's highlighted, please?
Correct. The tenant shall use the premises only as a private dwelling for himself or herself, and the individual's in compliance with HUD's tenant eligibility and rent procedures. Attachment 1, the tenant agrees to permit other individuals to reside in the unit only after obtaining the prior written approval of the landlord. The tenant agrees not to engage in or permit unlawful activities in the unit, in the common areas, or on the project grounds, have pets or animals of any kind in the unit without the prior written permission of the landlord, but the landlord will allow the tenant to keep an animal needed as a reasonable disability, and will allow animals to accompany visitors with disabilities who need such animals as an accommodation to their disabilities, or make or permit noises or acts that will disturb the rights and comfort of neighbors. The tenant agrees to keep the volume of any radio, phonograph, television, or musical instrument at a level which will not disturb the neighbors.
And can you read number 14?
Tenant agrees to obey the house rules, which are attachment number 3 to this agreement.
My apologies to the court. I have a personal emergency I need to attend to for just a moment. If you could give me just a moment.
Got my screen, so I can't do anything right now. Let me.
I can continue to read if you would like me to, Your Honor.
No, we can't do it without the counsel here.
Okay.
My apologies to the court.
I just realized in defense to the defendant, I should probably put Miss Roth in the waiting room as a sequestered witness. Miss Roth, I'm gonna put you in the waiting room. Don't go away. We didn't forget
Okay.
you. All right. Thank you. Are you ready to go?
Yes, my apologies. I believe there may have been an emergency, and there was not.
All right. Go ahead.
Ms. Pennington, could you please also, are you still seeing my screen right now?
No, but I do have mine on.
Let me put that back up on the screen for you. If you could please read paragraph 20B of the lease.
The tenant consents in advance to the following entries into the unit. Permit the landlord, his or her agents or other persons, when authorized by the landlord, to enter the unit for the purpose of making reasonable repairs and periodic inspections.
Thank you. And can you please read 23C under termination of tenancy?
The landlord may terminate this agreement for the following reason: the tenant's material noncompliance with the terms of this agreement.
There it is.
And can you also read the highlighted portion under that termination of tenancy D?
The term material noncompliance with the lease includes one or more substantial violations of the lease, 2 repeated minor violations of the lease that A, disrupt the livability of the project, B, adversely affect the health or safety of any person or the right of any tenant to the quiet enjoyment to the leased premises and related project facilities, C, interfere with the management of the project, or D, have an adverse financial effect on the project. 3, failure of the tenant to timely supply all required information on the income and composition or eligibility factors of the tenant's household, including but not limited to failure to meet the disclosure and verification requirements for social security numbers, or failure to sign and submit consent forms for the obtaining of wage and claim information from state wage information collection agencies, and 4, non-payment of rent or other financial obligation due under the lease beyond any grace period permitted under state law. Payment of the rent or other financial obligation due under the lease after the due date, but within the grace period permitted under state law, constitute a minor violation.
Thank you. And can you please confirm the signature of Ms. Wood, or I'm sorry, your signature on here?
Yes, that is my signature.
And did Ms. Wood sign this in your presence?
Yes, she did.
Thank you. Moving on to Exhibit B under rules and regulations, which was permitted under paragraph 14 of that lease. I'd like you to also recite number 2, paragraph 2 of the general rules and regulations in Exhibit B.
Yes. The sidewalks, entrances, passages, courts, vestibules, stairwells, corridors, and halls shall not be obstructed or encumbered or used by residents for any purpose other than ingress and egress to and from the premises. All of residents' boots, overshoes, throw rugs, umbrellas, and other personal property shall be kept within the premises at all times.
And number 8 and 9.
Nothing shall be done by the resident in or about any building in the apartment community that will interfere with rights to physical safety, peaceful enjoyment, comfort, or convenience of other residents. No musical instruments, radios, televisions, or stereo systems shall be operated, and no cooking equipment shall be utilized in a manner that is disturbing or annoying to other residents, nor shall any resident make any disturbing noises or create any annoying odors at any time. Residents shall keep the entry door to the premises closed except during ingress and egress from the premises. No pets shall be permitted at the apartment complex except with landlord's written consent, with the exception of persons living in apartments designated specifically for elderly households. Pets are permitted within the pet policy guidelines in designated elderly apartments.
And to clarify, Ms. Pennington, does Ms. Wood live in an elderly apartment?
No, we do not have any at this community.
Thank you. Could you also recite number 26?
No resident shall do or permit anything to be done in or about the premises or bring or keep anything therein that will in any way increase the rate of fire insurance on the apartment community or on the property therein. No resident shall perform any act in violation of the laws relating to fires or perform any act in violation of any insurance policy upon the buildings in the apartment community.
And can you also read 32 and 36?
Yes, for the safety of all residents and guests, vehicles must be moved during winter months as instructed by site staff so that snow can be removed from all parking spaces and parking lot areas. The site manager and or agent will send out instructions on where and when your car should be moved. 36, residents shall at all times provide adult supervision of all minor children of the resident's household and all residents' guests who are minor children, whether said minor children are within the residence unit or in the common areas.
And 37?
Non-payment, repeated late payment of rent, occupancy changes without appropriate and timely notice, or default in any other financial obligation due under the lease beyond any grace period constitute a breach of the lease and its cause for termination of the resident's tenancy. Repeated late payment of rent shall be defined as the resident paying rent after the 5th day of the month on 3 with 3 in parentheses or more occasions during any 12-month period.
Thank you. And number 40.
Any action of the resident's guests which would constitute a violation of these rules and regulations had said actions been done by the resident shall constitute a violation of this lease by the resident and may result in termination of the resident's tenancy.
Thank you. And can you please provide or please confirm your signature on here?
Yes, it is my signature.
And did the defendant sign that in your presence?
Yes, she did.
Thank you. Is your property a smoke-free property?
Okay, I was waiting. I didn't see anything about smoking.
Smoking,
comes.
I believe it was a lease violation that was on other
It was
violations.
alleged, but I didn't know you're about to get into smoking, so
Okay,
there's a
my apologies.
non-smoking addendum.
It's Exhibit 1C, Your Honor.
Yes.
Ms. Pennington, is there a smoking allowed on the premises?
On the premises, yes. Within the rental units or in any of the common areas, no.
Thank you for providing that clarification. The smoke-free housing attachment to lease agreement that is listed as Exhibit 1C, can you please provide or please read that first paragraph there?
Due to the increased risk of fire, increased maintenance cost, and the health effects of secondhand smoke, Landlords adopting the following no smoking policy, which prohibits smoking in any interior common areas, including but not limited to community rooms, community bathrooms, lobbies, reception areas, stairways, offices within all living units and within 25 feet of the building, including entryway, porches, balconies, and patios. This policy applies to all residents, guests, visitors, service personnel, and employees.
Thank you. And can you read paragraph 5?
Lease violations. Residents are responsible for the actions of their household, their guests, and visitors. Failure to adhere to any of the conditions of this addendum will constitute both a material non-compliance with the rental agreement and a serious violation of the rental agreement. In addition, resident will be responsible for all costs to remove smoke, odor, or residue upon any violation of this addendum.
And is this your signature, Ms. Pennington?
Yes, it is.
And did the defendant sign in your presence?
Yes, she did.
Thank you. Your Honor, we're moving on to Exhibit 1D, smoke detector addendum. Ms. Pennington, are smoke detectors required in all of your properties?
Yes, they are.
This is a smoke detector / carbon monoxide detector. Can you please read number 6?
If the landlord discovers a resident has disengaged either the smoke detector or carbon monoxide detector, if installed, the landlord may take immediate action to rescind all lease rights and terminate the tenancy and serve the resident with a 7-day notice to quit for health hazard damage to the property.
Why was it disengaged?
Is this your signature, Ms. Pennington?
Yes, it is.
And did the defendant sign this in your presence?
Yes, she did.
Thank you. And 1E is the cooperative pest agreement addendum. Ms. Pennington, if you could please read the highlighted portion at the bottom of that agreement.
Understand that with each infestation type, there is a specific treatment plan. I will be provided a treatment protocol before extermination begins. Failure to abide by this treatment protocol could result in termination of my lease.
And is this your signature?
Yes, it is.
And did the defendant sign it in your presence?
Yes, she did.
Thank you. And Ms. Pennington, in your opinion, has Ms. Wood repeatedly violated the terms of the lease and of relevant addendums?
Yes, she has.
And did you provide lease violations for those occurrences?
Yes, I did.
And did you serve notice to quit on Ms. Woods?
Yes, I did. Both via mail and at her door.
Your Honor, we would respectfully request that Exhibit 2, notice to quit and addendum be entered into record.
In front of you. Ms. Wood, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, are you following along here?
Yes, I am.
All right, very good. This is also admitted the notice to quit, at least ranging a number of the violations. Go ahead.
Ms. Pennington, could you please provide clarification? Do you recall when Ms. Wood signed her lease?
She signed it on the day that she began moving in on December 21st. December 21st, 2021.
Yes, I can.
Can you please state the first lease violation that she received?
December 30th, 2021.
Thank you. And then can you please recite the complaints? You don't have to worry about the dates, but just recite the complaints that were received and lease violations that were accordingly provided to Ms. Wood.
Yes, trash complaint, smoking in the unit, noise complaint. She was charged for improper furniture disposal, noise complaint, excessive damages to the unit, claims of parasites, grout coming through the walls and between the gaps in flooring, cigarette burns in the carpeting, wax on the walls, blinds destroyed, holes in the walls, vehicle towed for failure to move for seal and spray, site for impound fee payment plan to be set up with resident, failure to answer door for maintenance repairs, entry for repairs but couldn't be completed because resident wasn't prepared. Resident complaint, minor child bullying another resident child outside of the 900 building. resident making unauthorized repairs to unit, fist fighting with friend in the yard, children knocking on doors throughout the community to play with him, unauthorized occupant, removed and or inoperable smoke alarm violation, failure to allow entry to fix the smoke alarm, failure to allow entry to fix the smoke alarm,
No.
failure to allow entry for repairs, failure to sign and return the payment agreement for the impound fee, failure to allow entry for repairs, failure to sign and return the payment agreement for the impound fee, unauthorized occupant, failure to return and sign payment agreement for impound fee.
Now, Ms. Pennington, did you personally observe all of these lease violations?
Personally observed myself, no.
Okay, how did you become aware of these lease violations?
From the beginning,
Let's start with the noise complaints. How were you made aware of the noise complaints?
the noise complaints I received primarily from the resident below them, though those were corroborated by other neighbors within the building. As far as the smoking, that one I did witness the remnant of, there was the ashtray with the cigarette butt, but again, that was in the very beginning. Until recently, we hadn't had any further issues with that. When I was made aware that we had guests walking out of the unit with cigarettes in their mouth.
Okay. And okay, thank you. That's sufficient. And are you familiar with Miss Wood's ledger?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Your Honor, authorization or permission to enter Exhibit 3, defendant's ledger, onto the record.
From Exhibit 2, there's no mention in there of a pet.
It should be. Let me-
No, there is not, because the animal was after the termination was originally submitted.
My apologies. We did not amend the complaint, Your Honor. At this point, we'll concede on the pet.
Well, perhaps
think we're
not.
sufficient.
It was after the fact, so we can still take evidence about it, but
Oh, okay, thank you.
likewise for the unauthorized occupant. All right.
Yeah, the
continue.
unauthorized occupant, Your Honor, was provided
It's
on.
listed in there.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ooh.
We
Ms.
haven't heard
Pennington,
much about it yet, but
we'll get there, Your Honor. My apologies. There are a number of
I
them.
understand. Don't get there.
Aren't
Um,
there? She's had a fun heyday.
Do we have authorization to enter Exhibit 3, Your Honor, the ledger?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Pennington, does this let me see. Does this reflect the tenant's ledger?
Yes, it does.
And did the tenant fall behind on her payments in November?
We were no longer allowed to accept payment in November
Okay.
due to the
Well,
termination of tenancy.
I paid it in advance.
And the
Well, I'll
late
give
fee,
you a chance to speak. Just wait and don't just blurt things
I'm
out.
sorry.
to clarify,
ahead.
Ms. Pennington, the tow recovery fee that's listed on the ledger, did the tenant provide payment?
No, she is not.
Did you repeatedly provide lease violations and requests for payment from the tenant?
Lease violations, no. There was a payment agreement that was set up that I did finally get back, but no payments were made towards it.
And Ms. Pennington, what was the impound fee? What was the basis for it?
We were required to empty the entire lot because we had the entire lot resurfaced. And Miss Wood received notice on her door approximately 3 days prior, which was when we received notification from the company doing the resurfacing. Additionally, we knocked on the door that morning. We attempted to call both myself and my maintenance tech with no response. And the vehicle was indeed towed that morning, but it was not brought to our attention that there were any issues with the tow until the next business day.
And Ms.
Good
Pennington,
afternoon. What case are you guys here for? Why don't you stop out at the counter down here and we'll see.
Ms. Pennington,
I'm
in
sorry,
the,
go ahead.
okay, thank you, Your Honor. In the time since the initial notice to quit was filed on the tenant, have there been additional lease violations and breaches of the terms of the lease?
Yes, there has.
Your Honor, author permission to enter Exhibit 4.
Before we do that, Exhibit 3, obviously, once you file a termination of tenancy under the Park Forest case, you're not allowed to accept any rent. So
Correct, Your Honor.
were there delinquencies before the case was filed?
Before it was filed, not before the notice to quit was issued, but the issue here was not the past due rent. It was actually the non-payment of the damages per the terms of
see.
her lease. I can give you that exact
No,
clause.
I got you now. It's
Okay.
the tow fee.
It was
All
the
right,
tow fee.
Exhibit number 4, lease violation summary and complaints is admitted.
Thank you. Ms. Pennington, can you please provide statements on the lease violation or read the lease violations occurring on 11/21/22 and thereafter?
11/21/22 was non-payment of rent. The initial court notice was submitted. 11/21/22, failure to return the payment agreement. 2-3, unauthorized animal in the unit. 2-3, unauthorized occupant within the unit. 2-3, guest smoking in unit.
Sorry, you're breaking up.
I'm sorry.
Start at 2-3.
Okay, 2-3, unauthorized animal in the unit. 2-3, unauthorized occupant within the unit. 2-3, guest smoking in the unit and common areas. 228, breaching the quiet enjoyment and creating a general nuisance after 9 p.m. 228, failure to supervise children and defacing of playground equipment. 316, failure to return updated and signed rules.
How
Thank
many
you.
of
And
those did you observe yourself?
Of those,
Yes.
only the failure to return the payment agreement and the rules update.
Your Honor,
So you didn't see, yes?
if I may, for Ms. Pennington, we're just establishing the lease violations that she served. We have other witnesses that directly witnessed these occurrences that can testify.
I understand,
As to
but
their
we'll be
validity.
here till 10:30 tonight. I was just trying to
Yeah.
see if she knew of any of these things from her own knowledge. All right, go ahead.
Ms. Pennington, did you conduct an inspection of the unit in August of 2022?
Yes, I did.
Permission to enter Exhibit 5 into the record, Your Honor?
Inspection. Exhibit 5 is admitted.
Thank you. Ms. Pennington, during your inspection, are these the photographs that you took?
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Can you describe for the court what you are seeing in these first 2 photographs?
It appeared that somebody had attempted to break into the door from the outside. There was pry marks around the deadbolt, and there was obvious damage to the backside of the door, whether it be kicking or from unknown sources.
Okay,
These photographs are upside down, but we'll see.
my apologies. And then similarly, the latch to the door. Can you describe?
Correct.
Okay. And can you describe what is in the next 2 sets of photographs?
Yes, the gap under the patio door and the damage to the blinds. Though I will note that there was confusion as to whether or not those blinds were installed like that or not.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. And for this photograph, and my apologies, this is upside down. Let me rotate that. Okay. And were the blinds installed in this regard as well, Ms. Pennington?
No, they were not.
Okay. And I know it's a little hard to tell from this zoomed in photo, but can you describe what you're seeing in this on the left photo?
Yes, it is just food residue that was in one of the drawers.
And can you also describe what you're, actually, this is upside down too. Let me rotate that.
Wow, what is all that?
Okay. Can you describe what you're seeing in this photograph on the right?
Yes, that is a hole in the bathroom wall that was not there when the resident moved in.
And did you put the towel in that hole? And the
No, I
towel-
did not put the towel in that hole.
Thank you. Was the property previously advised regarding these damages to the unit?
No, they were not.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And on the photograph on the left, could you describe what that is?
That is what is called an ERV vent. That is part of our energy efficiency program where it pulls used air out of the unit into the common areas to put fresh air into the units.
And were these marks there upon installation of that?
No, they were not.
Is there a reason that the defendant would need to access that area?
At the time of the inspection, it was believed that the vent
Sorry,
system.
you broke up again. At the time of the inspection, what?
It was believed by the resident, and the reason that the inspection took place is because there were parasites believed to be coming out of the ceilings, the walls, the vents.
Okay, but just to clarify, to your knowledge, is there a reason why one of your residents would need to remove a vent?
No,
Thank you. And let me rotate this page one more time so we're up the right side up. And can you please describe the damage here?
just dense holes in the walls and the doors.
Wasn't,
And did you take this photograph of the carpet?
Yes, I did.
Okay, it's a little blurry. Can you tell us what you were seeing here or what you're trying to indicate with these photographs?
Miss Woods at the time believed that there were bugs in the carpeting. And all of those spots that were pointed out to me that she believed that there were bugs were actually cigarette burns in the carpets.
no, I mean,
And Miss Pennington, the photograph on the left where we are looking at that heater on the floor, was that damaged before Miss Woods moved in?
No, it was not.
Thank you. All right. Did the cigarette burns appear on the carpet at her move-in?
Yes.
Okay. And so would the appearance of those be a violation of that smoke-free
Yes, they
identity?
would.
Okay. And at the time that you did the inspection, was the resident notified that the damage was unacceptable and that repairs would be necessary?
Yes.
Okay. Did the defendant, to the best of your knowledge, did the defendant subsequently fail to allow entry? Did you serve a notice to quit regarding those failure to allow?
I did not serve a notice to quit based upon these damages.
My apologies, a lease violation based upon those damages.
A lease violation, yes.
Okay. Subsequent to the failure to permit.
Regarding the last picture that's up there on the screen, is that part of what we're seeing behind the defendant's head on the wall where it appears somebody drew or painted on the wall?
no, sir, that's actually a sticker of a gym catcher.
No, that was wax that was on the wall underneath the bedroom window from a wax burner that had gotten dumped over.
Yeah, that got taken cleaned up.
And Ms. Pennington, following the failure to allow entry into the unit and Ms. Wood's allegations of the pest control, did she file a complaint with the MMAM?
Yes, she did file a complaint with HUD that we were not taking care of our end by maintaining the unit in a clean, safe, and sanitary manner.
And Ms. Pennington, did you send maintenance workers to her unit on multiple occasions prior to that filing to try to get those maintenance addressed?
It was not just those items, but also items that took place in October that ultimately resulted in the termination of tenancy being issued.
Thank you. Your Honor, permission to enter Exhibit 6, the MMAM inquiry and findings into the record.
Have any objection to that? Ms. Wood, you filed a complaint with the Michigan Multifamily Asset Managers Association, and these are their reports. Do you have any objection to those coming in?
Your Honor, no, I did call HUD multiple times throughout, beginning actually in August, because of them not, I'm doing repairs as necessary as I thought were necessary. They didn't. But I mean, I talked to Miss Olivia through Fair Housing Commission, and they are actually under investigation right now due to not being in compliance with fixing things in my home, which are still not fixed today.
All right, well, so you don't have any objection to these reports about your complaints coming in?
No, I do not have objection about my
All right.
complaints. There's multiple.
Exhibit number 6 is admitted.
Ms. Pennington, could you please read the paragraph beginning on based on the information?
Based on information document we received from management and our subsequent discussions with everyone involved, this inquiry is closed.
And at that time, did MMAM find any basis behind this, or did they find a ruling against the property?
No, they did not.
Are you aware of any other pending investigations from MMAM?
No.
Thank you. No, I do want to go back in time a little bit to about a month after Ms. Wood moved onto the property. You issued a lease violation. Your Honor, author or permission to enter Exhibit 7 on the record?
Yes.
Is this the lease violation that was issued to Ms. Wood on January 5th of 2022?
Yes, it is.
Did you take this photograph here?
Yes, I did.
And was this within her unit?
Yes, it was.
And again, I just want to redirect, at that time in January 5th of 2022, was a smoking lease addendum still in effect?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Thank you.
Your Honor, can I say something regarding that?
Go ahead.
I was not home on that day, and when she called me and told me that I had a violation for that, I went and I spoke with her regarding that and told her how I would carry that to and from my vehicle to smoke. And number one, she illegally went to my apartment without my permission. She left a voicemail, said she was coming in. I did not even know she was where she was in my home, and then took a picture while I was not there. So that's false statement. I was not smoking in my home.
Well, somebody was. And then what's the other stuff in the picture? Vaping equipment?
Yeah, and my hair clip, and like I don't know. It looks like maybe did you line that up? I mean, I don't understand.
Is vaping prohibited? That wasn't specifically stated in the
No,
lease
it's not.
addendum. Ms.
I'll
Penny?
be honest, Your Honor, I don't know if vaping is allowed or not. I don't believe so, but again, that's could be a difference in programs from one property to another.
All right. Well, obviously someone was smoking 3 cigarettes in there at some point. All right. Thank you. You can continue. And thank you, Ms. Wood.
Ms. Pennington, have you received complaints from other residents regarding Ms. Wood or someone in her unit having a pet?
Only on one occasion, and that was a guest had contacted another resident who is in our witness list, that his dog was missing. He had gotten loose. And
You're breaking up again.
the dog was going and testified to the
No.
dog because I did not witness any of it. I only
Okay, Ms. Pennington, let me clarify that statement. Did a dog end up in your property office?
Yes. Another resident had the dog. I requested that the dog be brought to me because I knew who it belonged to. and that I would return the dog.
Okay, thank you. And
When was this?
January,
And was that a picture?
right, February 3rd.
Your Honor, permission to enter Exhibit 8.
Yes.
Ms. Pennington, when the dog was brought to your office, did you compose an email to Ms. Wood?
Yes, I did, but I did not get a response. And
Okay.
around 11 a.m. that morning, I took the dog over to Miss Wood's unit.
And what was her response at that time when you took the dog over to the unit?
That it wasn't her dog, it belonged to a friend, and thanks for bringing it back.
Okay, okay, so it belonged to a friend. Is this the photograph of the dog, or does this photograph represent what the dog looked like?
Yes.
Okay, and there's another photograph too. Okay. Thank you. And
Ask this, after February, was the dog ever seen there again?
Not after it was returned to Miss Wood, no.
and again, Ms. Pennington,
Just stop for a minute. Some of the exhibits said there was something about a dog pooping in the hallways. Is that this same dog or is that another
To
incident?
my knowledge, it is the same dog.
Your Honor, it's my understanding that it is a different incident and there is a different witness that is available to testify regarding the dog feces.
That's not on February 3rd.
No, Your Honor, it was predated that time.
All right, thank you.
Come up with a date.
Okay, Ms. Pennington, we appreciate your testimony at this time. Your Honor, we would just like to reserve the ability to recall her if it becomes
Well, did
necessary.
you do exhibit 10?
Exhibit 10.
No.
She did not take those photographs, so we have the maintenance tech that is going to be able to provide testimony that took those photographs.
All right.
And Your Honor, how is it okay for them to take photographs without my knowledge?
The lease allows them to come in and inspect the premises upon notice, so.
They were fixing things in here on that date.
Okay, so now they finished with Miss Pennington. That's called direct examination. You have an opportunity to ask her any questions if you would like to while she's here under oath. Is there anything you'd like to ask her?
Yes, first I would like to start with asking about you stating that I never signed a new lease. Because I have proof and copies here that I signed a new lease that was starting.
The new certification, is that what you're referencing?
The recertification, as well as the new lease.
Okay, we don't ever sign a new lease. We only sign a new certification, which sends back.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Wood, what date do you contend you re-signed it?
I re-signed it on 11/7.
Which was already after the time frame that we had submitted.
It was not, ma'am. You put it on my door on 11/9. After you looked at me and smiled about me getting into a townhouse. And so I do have a copy here of where it states that my new lease would start on 12/1/2022. And it ends 12/1/2023 and is the annual recertification. Shows my deposit, you up my rent by $8 or by $5, it came to $28. You also you got to you went and said I made more money. I went to my checking account for my chime. This is false information. I do not always carry $1,200 in my account. The account was only specifically used for my taxes. Once a year did I ever get a deposit in that account.
Okay, Ms. Woods, that information was provided to us by Chime, and that is based on a 6-month average. That is not a current balance.
But that's not correct.
Okay, again, we have to go by the information that Chime supplied to us.
Mm. Okay. But again, you stated I didn't sign a new lease, but this is it.
All right, well, Ms. Wood, what is the date of the lease that you allege that you signed?
It is 11/7/2022. I don't know if you can see that.
All right, so you're saying you did sign a new certification and
I
lease.
I sure did. And here's her signature right here.
Okay. Ms. Pennington, you have no knowledge of that?
Again, I believe that when we originally submitted, it was in October. So at the time, I did not have the completed certification done and signed. It has obviously since been done.
And I have copies of
Okay,
that as
so
well.
just a minute. I want to make sure I understand this. So as of this time, she has re-signed a lease
Yes.
and certification?
A lease, no, we do not sign another lease. We just sign a recertification. Each year, we are required with any of our income-based programs to re-verify the income to determine eligibility based upon income and to determine whether. And that's what Ms. Woods is reflecting there.
No, this is,
And do her income eligibility recertification.
Correct.
Okay. All right, Ms. Sprague, you may continue.
yeah, I mean, I don't know how you're saying this is not a lease. It says right up here, owner certification of compliance with HUD's tenant eligibility and rent procedures. It's the same release of my original one that I have here, that was from 12/22 to 12/1 of 22.
That is the HUD 5.9. It is a form within the lease, but it is not the actual lease.
Well, no, it's not all the rules and regulations, but this is the part of it.
Yes, that is a part of the original lease.
Right.
Do you have any
As
other questions for her?
I mean, regarding that situation, no, I do not. I have the annual certification where you were giving me a violation for not having it returned. I have right here is dated. I did this all the way back in August. I did this with you, and you're giving me violations in November and October for not having it returned.
All right, well, you'll get a chance to tell your side too, but all right, it appears there's some additional paperwork that supports your position. All right, do you have any other questions for Ms. Pennington? All right, Ms. Sprague, you may call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. We would request that Susan from Pronto Pest Management be called in at this time.
I lost her when I disconnected. Is she there with you, Ms. Pennington?
She is not.
Okay. So she's not in the waiting room, Your Honor?
Off. She had a dog barking in the background and I muted her, and then when I disconnected, I lost her.
Okay, yeah, she had been zooming in from work, so that's probably where the dog noise came from. Okay, we will skip her then. And Ms. Pennington, while I call the next witness, is it possible for you to try to reach Susan and see if she can log
Yes,
back
it
in?
is.
Thank
Yes.
you. The next witness is going to be Elizabeth Seibert.
Okay, let me grab her.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Judge Middleton. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Would you state your name, please?
Elizabeth Ann Seibert.
How do you spell Ann?
ANN.
And Seibert?
Sibert.
Would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm any testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Sprague.
Ms. Seibert, can you please state your position?
It's been janitorial at Gateway.
And are you familiar with the defendant and her unit? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yes.
Thank you. Does the tenant routinely make maintenance requests?
Yes.
Okay,
You're gonna have to
And-
speak up, I guess. We've had some trouble with Miss Pennington's mic.
okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Ms. Seibert, in September and October, did you attempt to gain entry into the unit in order to provide maintenance repairs and other items of that nature?
Yes.
And did the tenant allow you to enter the unit on the
No,
date?
she did not.
Okay. And
And
on,
what day was that?
Ms. Pennington, on September 19th,
Cyber.
or Seibert, oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Ms. Seibert. My apologies. On 9/19, did Ms. Woods answer the door when you knocked?
No.
Was adequate notice provided?
Yeah.
Okay, and on September 23rd, were you unable to make the repairs because the resident would not allow them and had not prepped?
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I object on that.
What does that mean?
Ms. Pennington, can you describe the failure to prep?
No, this is Miss Cyber.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Seibert. Sorry, I apologize
Um,
again, Ms. Seibert.
What did you go there to do?
To complete work orders that had been put in our system.
I didn't hear any of that.
Well, this microphone on this computer is not good.
To complete work orders that had been put into our maintenance system.
Okay, to do what kind of work?
Ready for it, so I mean, you should know.
Now, Miss Wood, I'll give you a chance.
I'm
to
sorry.
speak. Just stop muttering onto the record. All right, what kind of work were you there to do?
I have to look at my paperwork. We were there to, window blinds needed replaced, closet doors, needed fixed. Cabinet doors needed put back on, they weren't straight. There were holes in the walls, holes in the doors.
Didn't fix any of those.
Blind unit needed fixed in the patio blind, in the dining room, living room area.
And Ms. Seibert, why were you not able to access those areas?
Some of the areas were blocked by kids' toys and laundry and things like that.
And was notice provided to Ms. Woods prior to your entry?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Additionally, on October 6th,
Let me back up. Did you
I'm sorry.
go in the apartment on that day?
She didn't.
To the best of my knowledge, we did.
and Ms.
All right,
Seibert,
So you went in and you couldn't get to the stuff, so you didn't make the repairs?
We were able to make some repairs, because we were able to access the things that needed repaired, but not everything.
Did you see any signs that a dog lived there?
Not at that time, no.
I'm making my way.
All right, go ahead, Miss Sprague.
Ms. Seibert, on October 5th, did the tenant refuse entry for you to fix the smoke alarms?
Yes.
I'm making my way in here.
And subsequently on
What date was that?
Yes.
What date was that, Miss Sprague?
October 5th.
4th.
Fixed smoke alarms. Okay, what can you tell us about that?
We had received an after our call, that her smoke alarms were going off, the batteries were. I went to respond and, we were not allowed entry to replace the smoke alarm batteries.
And
Why?
okay, thank you. And again, on October 6th, where you refused entry into the unit. Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry, October 6th, thank you. When you were allowed into and then again on October 14th. Thank you. When you were permitted entry into the unit, did you take photographs?
Yes.
Your Honor, permission to enter Exhibit 10?
Yes.
Ms. Seibert, are these the photographs or some of the photographs that you took at that time? Or I'm sorry, I need to share my screen. My apologies. So. Are these the photographs that you took, Ms. Seibert? Or some of the photographs that were taken of that unit?
Yes.
Can you please describe what is evidence on the far left?
The smoke detector had been taken down.
Okay. And to the best of your knowledge, does that violate the housing codes?
Yes.
Okay. And can you please describe what we are seeing on the right-hand side?
This is the closet door. It had been taken off the track, and there should be a little top piece that is not on there that we need to replace.
Okay, and I think there's a better picture on the left-hand side of that as well. Is that a crack at the top of that as well, Ms. Seibert?
It is a crack, and then the top of the door that there's the wood piece there that has been pulled out of the top of the closet door.
Okay, thank you. And the photograph on the right shows, looks like an attempt at a repair. Is that something that yourself or to your knowledge, any other maintenance person did?
No.
Okay. And likewise, it looks like an attempted repair on the right and then to the left. Are those repairs that you provided or that someone, to your knowledge, someone in maintenance provided?
No.
Thank you. And likewise, repairs to the left.
Correct.
Looks like some repair tape and holes in the door. And it looks like the remains of a drawer. Was that drawer something that you were modifying, or was that something that was just in the unit?
It was in the unit. We took it out to fix it.
Okay. All right. Did you replace the carbon dioxide and smoke alarm when you were there?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, additionally, more recently, did you observe an individual leaving Miss Wood's apartment on February 3rd of 2023?
Yes.
Can you please describe what you saw?
It was a male and I was cleaning
Now,
up.
again, this is a terrible microphone. When you turn to the side, you seem to do better.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was cleaning the hallways and there was a gentleman leaving her apartment with a lit cigarette, and I informed him that we were a smoke-free unit.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Seibert. No further questions at this time.
What time of day was that?
I believe in the morning. That's typically when I clean hallways.
Did you know this person?
No, sir, I did not.
Your Honor, no
All
further
right.
questions at this time. We would just respectfully request the ability to recall if necessary.
All right, Ms. Wood, I muted your microphone because your kids were talking. If you could unmute, are there any questions you wish to ask Ms. Seibert?
Yes, so my knowledge, her and Dave came in on 10/4. I got a notice here on, what is it, 10, excuse me?
Or you have to frame it as a question.
Okay, well, you're stating that you couldn't get in on 10-6, but you just stated that you fixed the smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms while you were here, correct?
When we were able to gain entry, we fixed those items.
It was never denied.
Which was on what date? Ma'am?
Looks like I have.
Can't hear you.
You guys came in on 10-4 to complete your guys' work orders, which still aren't completed, correct?
They are not completed per our supervisor Cindy, correct?
And why is that? Why is it that I still don't have closet door, or I still don't have a drawer in my kitchen, or a screen on my patio?
That was the direction we were given per Cindy.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Redirect, Your Honor.
Yes,
Go
go ahead.
Ms. Seibert, does the maintenance crew ever accompany pest control into the unit?
Typically, yes.
Okay. At that time, when a pest control or someone else in your knowledge is let onto the property, is that notated in the tenant's log?
We send them a notice letting them know pest control is going to be there, and then we have paperwork that we sign when pest control is finished within the units.
Okay. Ms. Seibert, under Exhibit 4, I'd like you to read the note from 10-4. Oh, just a moment. 10-4 that indicates notes that were provided either by maintenance or by Cindy. My apologies. Is this a note that you provided under 10-4?
You would like me to read it?
Yes.
Pest control went to follow up on the carpet beetles in Miss Wood's unit. She refused treatment, stating she had not been given notice, but she did receive the notice of inspection that was attached to the prep sheet and requested to be removed from the control list entirely.
Thank you. No further questions at this time, Your
All
Honor.
right, well, let's see what she requested to be off the pest control list.
Correct.
Meaning she
No.
didn't want any pest control people coming into her apartment anymore.
Correct.
Your Honor, I object on that. That's not true.
Well, that's her statement. You'll have an opportunity to tell your side of the story.
I still have an issue to this day.
All right, Miss Siebert, you're free to go. You want Miss Brenneman next?
If Ms. Brenneman is here, yes, please.
Yes,
Did she log in?
yes. Just let me tell Miss Roth we haven't forgotten about her.
At
Ms.
this time,
Roth,
you're.
we haven't forgotten you. I just wanted to check in for a minute. We're still going, and so I'll put you back in the waiting room as a sequestered witness, but we didn't forget you.
Okay.
All right. Ms. Brenneman, would you please state your name for the record?
Susan Brenneman.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm any testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, sir.
And how do you spell Brenneman?
BRENNEMAN.
Thank you.
Ms. Brenneman, can you please state your title and where you are currently employed?
I am a pest control service technician at Pronto Pest Management.
Thank you. And are you familiar with the defendant and the defendant's apartment?
Yes, I am.
Okay. When you provide your treatments, do you typically create a service report and inspection report?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, permission to enter what was formerly Exhibit 9. or what's listed in the documents as Exhibit 9. My apologies, we had to go a little bit out of order for the,
Yes.
thank you.
All right, just a moment. Exhibit 9 for you, Ms. Wood, is entitled Pest Control Service Records.
And Ms. Brenneman, we do appreciate you appearing here to testify. Are you able to see on your screen what is up currently on your pest service?
Yes,
Okay. Are you able to decipher what that date is on there?
that is 10/4/22.
And did you provide service on 10/4/2022?
That is my handwriting, yes.
Okay, can you read the comments that were made for 702C?
Yep, it says that the circled pest is carpet beetles. The tenant refused, stated no notice given, removed from list.
Okay, thank you. And again,
What kind of pests were you gonna be treating for?
That particular day was carpet beetles.
Disgusting.
Have you treated that apartment for other pests?
We have.
Tell me about that.
We've treated for Asian lady beetles
Oh my God.
and box elder bugs.
Stink bugs.
and Ms. Brenneman, did you find any evidence of those other two items while you were there treating for those?
No, I did not.
And so was the treatment based upon the defendant's assertions of those bugs?
Yes,
Pictures.
and it was treated.
Okay. And a former inspection that is currently on the screen right now is from 8/23 of 2022. If you are able to read the comments there.
Yep, it says carpet beetles, sprayed baseboards and ceiling lines throughout apartment, some webbing and dead beetles seen. Tenant became very rude and disgruntled to me and maintenance as we left the apartment. And that was our other technician, Josh, who was unavailable today.
Okay, thank you. And again, on 5/3 of 2022.
Yep, that was for the box elder bugs and the Asian lady beetles.
Thank you. So is it safe to say that you have repeatedly went to the unit in order to provide care?
Yes, we're on the property every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks. Okay, but for this particular defendant, only as requested by the property
All that
manager,
blacked
correct?
out.
Yes, we removed that resident from the list on 10/4 after many failed attempts to get into the apartment to treat.
Okay, and Ms. Brenneman, with carpet beetles, is spraying the baseboards typically sufficient?
No,
Okay, what would be a sufficient treatment?
spraying the bottoms of the furniture.
Okay, and did you
And
advise,
the sides.
and what, to the best of your knowledge, was Ms. Wood provided with knowledge beforehand that that would be necessary and to prep the area accordingly?
Yes.
On what date?
Okay. And did Ms. Wood prepare at any of the times that you were there for you to prepare, or for you to
No,
spray the bottom of
was
the
Josh.
furniture?
No.
Okay, thank you. No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Questions for this witness?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
So okay, we got 7/5/20. This one, you says you did not treat her management. Okay, and that's 7/5. Wasn't because I didn't want you to, and you circled roaches, ants, bed bugs, and others, box elder bugs, and the Asian, whatever, the disgusting things that shouldn't be here. So how is it that it was my fault if it's on here that you could not do management?
I don't know what the reason management canceled treatment that day for was.
No, I'm stating, but you guys said I refused, but
On that day, no, that day it was canceled by management,
okay,
but on other days, it was stated that you
the
refused.
one day, yes, on 10/4. You came, I wasn't told anything about you coming. And it was they had things everywhere because they were trying to redo things for HUD because HUD was coming the next day. So they wanted to try to get all the things they could get done fixed. And then you came in and said, oh, I'm here to spray. And it was my mother's 2-year anniversary of her death on that day as well. And it was too much for me to handle. And I just asked you, no, I didn't want you to spray, and could you leave? And for that day, I didn't mean entirely. Who wants to live with bugs in their carpets? I mean, I don't understand.
All right, do you have any questions for her other than the one about the July date?
Yeah, that about that you're saying that I refused treatment for entirety on 10/4. Then I said that.
No, we removed you from the list after many failed attempts to treat.
When were those failed
All right, well,
attempts to
just a
treat?
minute. What you said was she asked to be removed from the list. That's not exactly accurate. You removed her from the list.
Let me pull up that paper.
I mean, and Your Honor, as well as when the one time they did tell me to prepare, and I bagged everything, all my linen, all my clothing. I mean,
Well,
everything that was.
Just a minute.
I'm
You're
sorry.
not under oath and you're not testifying yet. She's under oath and she's testifying. This is hard enough. We're sort of
Yes.
fast and loose with the rules of evidence as it is. Foundation and otherwise, but I find there is a basis for admission of these. So she was removed because of your perceived lack of cooperation, or did she ask to be removed from the list?
No, it was lack of cooperation that she was removed.
Okay.
I have nothing
All
further.
right, Ms. Wood, does that raise any questions for you?
No, sir.
All right, Ms. Brenneman, is that done for you, Ms. Sprague?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Brenneman.
All right, let me bring Ms. Roth in from the waiting room. Ms. Brenneman, you're free to go on about your business.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Roth, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Would you please raise your right hand?
Your Honor,
Do you
if I,
swear- Yes,
if I may, I have other, with us being down to the last half hour, I have other witnesses. If it's possible to wait on Ms. Roth and see if we can get through those other witnesses first.
Yeah,
Well, it's
that's
your
fine.
case. All right. I was gonna
Thank
try
you.
to get her out of the waiting room. All right, I'll let you do it. We'll be here a
Thank
while
you.
yet. All right, Ms. Roth, apparently not ready for you. I wanted to get you out of there, but all right, who's next?
James Millar.
In my chair, yes.
I'm gonna mute your mic again. If you need to speak, unmute it. Your kids are playing there. Oops. Okay, good afternoon, sir. Would you state your name, please?
James T. Millar,
How do you spell Millard?
Millar.
Oh, Millar. All right, would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm any testimony you're about to give here will be true to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
All right, Ms. Sprague.
Ms. Millar or Mr. Millar, how do you know the defendant?
She's my neighbor upstairs.
All right, this microphone is terrible. And when they look this way, we can't hear them, but if they look right at it, it seems to do better. Let's try again. How do you know the defendant?
She is my upstairs neighbor in the apartment building I live in.
And
So you
Mr.
live below her?
Yes,
Do you see her on the screen there?
yes, I do.
And is that your neighbor?
Yes,
All right, go ahead.
Mr. Millar, have you had reason to file multiple complaints regarding Ms. Wood?
yes.
Okay, do you file complaints both verbally and in writing?
I few in writing, most of them are verbal.
Most of them are verbal. Okay. Since Ms. Wood has moved in, can you guesstimate how many verbal complaints you've provided to the property?
Oh, probably more than a dozen.
Okay, and what is the nature of those complaints?
Loud noises, fights, throwing stuff off the balconies.
Okay, and Your Honor, permission to enter Exhibit 11.
Complaints from witness Millar, yes. Exhibit 11 is admitted.
Mr. Millar, are you familiar with the complaint form that's currently on your screen?
Yes,
For
I,
January 3rd.
yes.
Can you please tell me about the situation that caused you to file this complaint?
Well, they had a dog up there. I'm not saying it was theirs. But when they let the dog out, it took they went to the bathroom. And down in the hallway toward my door. Somebody took the rug and threw it out the door and left other stuff in the hallway.
Okay, and Mr. Millar, the dog that you saw, was it, give me just a moment. Did it look like that?
Yes, it did.
Thank you. And Mr. Millar, the noise complaints, can you describe what those noise complaints are regarding? Is it normal, during normal hours, or what time of the day is it typical for there to be loud noises?
Loud noises are after hours mostly. I've learned to ignore them during the daytime.
Okay, thank you. And additionally, back in, let's see, back on January 3rd of 2022, did you file a complaint because the resident upstairs was dumping the vacuum contents over the edge of their balcony onto your patio?
Yes,
Okay, is it possible that someone else's balcony could have resulted in those items coming onto your patio?
no,
Okay. And then did you personally witness Miss Woods getting into an altercation with a partner?
Well, slow down a little bit. What date are you on?
5/31 of 2022.
Well, let's back up. 5/6, cigarette butts and trash thrown out of the balcony. Is that from the vacuum cleaner or just stuff being thrown over the balcony?
That's a separate occurrence, Your Honor.
Yes.
Mr. Millar, on May 6th of 2022, when you saw cigarette butts and trash, was that, in your opinion, did that originate from the contents of a vacuum, or were those just tossed?
I think they were just tossed.
Okay. On May 16th, in addition to the loud noises, do they ever run the vacuum or do other loud noises from 2 to 4 a.m.?
Yes,
Okay. And is that yelling adults or children that you frequently hear?
it's both.
Thank you. And so now we're on May 31st of 2022. Did you hear when the Sturgis Police Department arrived at the unit in order to address an altercation that had occurred?
Yes,
Okay. Did you hear the yelling and the screaming yourself?
yes, I did.
Was one of the participants Miss Wood?
You know, I really can't say it was from that apartment, but I don't know for sure it was her.
But you could tell it was coming from her apartment.
Yes,
Thank you. Let me see. And I don't have any other questions at this time, Mr. Millar. I do
Was
appreciate your
there-
testimony. Oh,
Was there someone else living there? Was there a man living there also at this time?
There have been a lot of people living there from time to time. But
Adults?
there was a black male that was there.
For how long?
On and off, he'd stay for a while and disappear and then come back again.
Any other adults that you believe were living in there?
There was a girl and then there was her sister was there on and off.
Do you know her sister's name?
No, I don't.
Any other adults?
Just people that come and go during the night.
All right, Miss Wood, do you have any questions for this witness, Mr. Millar? Your mic's on mute, Miss Wood.
Yes, I do. For that first incident on 1-5 or on 1-3, when I lived here for a couple weeks, I came down to you and apologized to you about me emptying my vacuum into the trash, and that's how a little debris got onto the ground out there. Correct?
If you say so.
If I say so, I did not. I mean, I want to know. Do you not
You
remember
came
all
down
that
and
day?
apologized for dumping junk on my patio. Your boyfriend came down and cleaned up a mess where somebody squirted a bottle of Elmer's glue all over the place. On
That
my
was, yes, sir, and I apologize for that. And my daughter came down and she cleaned up with what she had done, and he helped. Yes.
Your Honor,
Okay.
objection, the defendant is testifying at this time. There's not a question there.
Because I mean, you jumped to a different date, sir, start talking about a whole different incident. I was talking about the trash complaint. You're saying that there was cigarette butts, and it was a vacuum cleaner that I went and apologized to you for that a little debris got out onto your patio. And again, I'm
Anything else
sorry.
you wish to ask him?
No, sir.
All right, Mr. Millar, you're free to go on about your business.
Thank you, sir.
Your Honor, if we could call Ms. Roth in now.
He's out there yelling in the hallway. That's why he's about to catch my call.
All right, Ms. Roth, they are ready for you now.
Okay.
Would you please raise your right hand? Would you state your name, please?
Leslie Roth.
R-O-T-H.
Yes,
You swear or affirm any testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true to the best of your knowledge and belief.
I do.
All right. This is Ms. Sprague. She's representing the apartment complex. She has some questions for you.
Okay.
Hello, Ms. Roth. Do you live at the property?
Yes,
Okay.
I am
And-
the apartment right next door.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you familiar with Ms. Woods?
Yes,
Defendant? Okay, thank you. And have you previously heard loud noises coming at different times of the night, or have you filed any complaints regarding the noises against the
I
defendant?
have not filed a complaint, but yes, there are frequently loud noises at night.
Okay, and approximately what time of the night do those occur?
Midnight, 1, 2.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Roth.
Well, what does loud noises mean?
It sounds like
Thunder, orchestra music, people fighting with each other, bowling, basketball?
okay, I can hear the voices of people fighting. I'm assuming the fights, throwing or people or something. There's a lot of banging on my wall. We share a wall.
What time frame are we talking about?
I don't understand. Do you mean what time during the night or?
No, what, she's moved in last December or December of 21. So we're talking about during 2022. What months are you hearing these?
When they first moved in, I thought it was just because they just moved in. I was teasing with my son saying I thought they were vampires because I always heard noises at night. So I'm assuming that was when they moved in.
How about more recently, this summer, this fall, or?
Yeah, there have been times at night where I know it gets bad because the kids will leave the apartment and they'll knock on my door or rattle my doorknob. And I don't know if they're sent out or they get scared, but they run out. And I know the little boy told me if I don't answer, he tries to go to the playground. That was about 8-9 months ago.
Have you let her children into your apartment in the night and they've left?
Once.
Okay, when was that?
I'm thinking that must have been last summer.
What time of day or night was it?
Around midnight somewhere. I had just fallen asleep, so I know it was between 11 maybe and 1. It's hard to remember exactly because I wasn't awake at the time.
All right, so how long was the child in your apartment?
Not long. Somebody came out and everybody went back, and I mean, when they heard someone in the living room, they went back in.
Do you believe there's another adult living there, a boyfriend or relative or something?
Not that I know. I don't think so.
All right. So you don't see a boyfriend come in the evening and leave in the morning, or
No.
park his car in the lot, or those sorts of things?
I mean, people visit, but I've never got the impression anyone lives there. No.
All right. Miss Wood, do you have any questions for Miss Roth?
Yes, actually I do. Regarding you stating that my child came to your door and knocked. What date was that?
I don't know. They weren't knocking. They were rattling the doorknob.
You just said you let my child in your home.
Yeah, I opened the door. They've knocked before, but then they would go back in. But it was your son. And that's when he said something about going to the playground, or someone told him.
This was at midnight?
I don't know exactly. It was probably between 11 and 1 because I was asleep. And I'm thinking it was summer because like everything was open, but I don't know.
But you're thinking though, so you're not certain.
I'm not positive of the date. I was asleep.
Okay, thank you.
Miss Sprague, anything further of Miss Roth?
Not for this witness. We were just call Samantha Terry next.
All right, Miss Roth, you're free to go on about your business. Thank you.
Okay.
Your Honor,
Yes,
am I able to call my child as a witness to that situation?
yes, you will be when it's your turn to put on. Your
Okay,
case.
well, I'm sorry, I don't know how this all really works, honestly.
Yes. Well, you're doing the best you can.
Yes, I
Legally
am.
chose not to file an appearance here. Good afternoon, ma'am. What's your name?
Samantha Terry, T as in Tom.
Samantha
Yes, sir.
Terry?
Yes, sir.
Would you please raise your right hand? You swear or affirm any testimony you're about to give here will be true to the best of your knowledge and belief.
Yes, sir.
All right, Ms. Sprague.
Ms. Terry, are you familiar with the defendant?
I've met her twice.
Okay. Have you
Have
had,
her on the screen?
Yes. She's the fourth picture over.
All right.
Did you witness the defendant and her girlfriend fighting in October of 2022 on the property
Yeah, inside the vehicle, yes.
inside their vehicle? Thank you. Have you witnessed anyone other than Miss Wood and her child residing in the unit?
I've had somebody come to my door and say that they live there.
Okay, thank you. And did you file any
Slow down-
complaints?
Slow down. I
I'm
know
sorry.
you're trying to get done. All right, who is
It is-
this person that came to your door and said they live there?
It was a gentleman. He came to the door. My caregiver answered the door. He was looking for a dog. He described the dog as a black and white pit bull mix and asked that if it was found or seen, if somebody could come to 702C and let him know that's where he resides at.
Was that last January?
No, that was more recently. I believe it was February.
February of 2022 or
23.
23? Oh, just this a month or
Yeah.
so ago.
Yeah, it was a month, yeah, somewhere in that area, yes.
All right. Did you know the man's name?
No, I did not.
Did the man describe what type of dog he was looking for?
Yeah, I believe he said it was a white and black pit bull mix.
Thank you. Have you filed any complaints with the office regarding the defendant or her children?
I have verbal.
Miss Terry, can you turn your head for the microphone? It's getting lost. I'm so sorry.
Yes. And written, the last written one I did was about an incident that happened on February 27th.
Okay, Your Honor, permission to enter into evidence exhibit 12.
Complaint from witness Terry. Exhibit 12 may be admitted.
Thank you. Ms. Terry, is this the complaint that is on the screen right now indicating what had occurred on February
Yes.
27th? Can you briefly describe the occurrences?
Yes, ma'am. I was sitting in my chair. My townhouse is situated where it's directly behind the playground. And I heard some metal hitting metal. I got up and addressed the situation and asked them to stop vandalizing the playground. Then it was a different child. Julius was there with the child. I sat back down, it happened again, got up. I told them that I was going to, do I need to contact their parent? I'm gonna let Miss Cindy know. I sat back down again. It happened again. My caregiver went to the door, the sliding door. And he asked them to stop, and they did. They left for a few minutes and came back, and it was a child, and then Julius and Tamara. And now both the boys had metal pipe. It was a short pipe. I believe it was like a half-inch pipe that was maybe a foot and a half, 2 foot long. And I heard metal hitting metal again, and I looked over, they both were hitting it, and I got up and I told them it was vandalism and I wasn't gonna hear it anymore. And if they didn't stop, I would call the police.
Miss Pennington,
We keep
you're
losing
cutting
You
out.
have to talk sideways to the
sorry.
microphone. I'm sorry. How
I'm
old
sorry.
are these boys?
I know that, I think they're in second grade.
All right. I can't hear you. Kyson is how old?
I don't know if he's in second or third grade, but he's in one of them 2 grades.
All right.
And
How about
in
Julius?
second,
Julius is in second grade,
I believe so.
and the girl?
So I don't know what grade Tamara's in. My daughter goes to school with Julius and Tyson. That's why I know about what grade they're in.
Well, how old do you think Tamara is?
Tamara's a little older, so I don't know that she goes to my daughter's school. I think she might go to the next school, which would be the 3rd through 5th grade. But that's just my assumption, Your Honor. I don't know for a fact on that.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Sprague, you may continue.
Miss Terry, do you frequently see the defendant's children playing on the playground outside your unit?
Yes, ma'am.
How often do you see the defendant with the children?
Never seen any adult with the children at the playground.
Okay. Do the children, have you ever seen the children doing behavior other than damaging the property that would not be appropriate on the grounds?
I see and I hear they do a lot of cursing and a lot of hitting. They've hit my child. Not
that
they,
all
Julius, Julius has hit my child.
I object this. No.
Well,
Your
she's
Honor.
Testifying to what she saw as a direct.
Yeah, but she's
eyewitness.
going against what even the question that was asked. I mean,
Okay, well, she
Ms.
asked if you've
Terry.
seen her.
Yes,
Have-
ma'am.
Has the defendant's child ever hit your child?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Terry.
When was that?
It was as early as September and it has been ongoing.
And have you ever spoken with the defendant regarding the actions of her child?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Can you please describe that altercation?
She was pulling away from the bus stop in her car and I asked her to speak with her and she stopped. And I went to talking to her about the things that Julius and whatnot was happening with my child. And she was at first being very polite about it. And then her significant other got out of the car. And I said to Julius, I said, Julius, and the significant other said, don't talk to our son, and got real irate with me. And it just went bad from there.
Is that when you began filing complaints directly with management instead of taking it to the individuals or the parents?
Yeah, I just got to a point that I'm not fixing I just got in here. I'm not trying to fight. I'm not really trying to cause a problem. I just wanted to be a safe
but that's all
place.
you have done.
Ms. Woods,
Now, Miss Wood, just to stop.
Sorry.
All right, Miss Terry, you refer to a significant other. Who is that person?
I don't know her name. She's African-American female is all I know.
I don't know who that is.
Does she live there?
She's there every single day, morning and night.
Yes,
It's not here today.
ma'am.
All right, so it's your belief she's actually residing there?
Yes, Your Honor. When
Miss
they,
Wood, I'm
when
gonna
they
mute your
had,
microphone.
I'm sorry. I'll mute it.
when they would bring the kids to the bus stop, it was both of them every day in the car or walking. And the day that I asked the defendant to stop so I could speak to her, obviously, her significant other got out of the car and said, don't talk to our son. So that's what gave me the impression that that was a significant other.
Okay. When was that?
It was still decent outside, so I would say
The microphone is terrible. All right, let's talk about now, 2023. January, February, March. Is this other person still residing there in Miss Wood's apartment?
I don't know. There was a month that I wasn't able to go to the bus stop and I wasn't able to get out of the house due to my disability. So I had, there were other people taking my child up there and I don't go over to her apartment, her part of the apartment complex.
All right, so she lives in a different building than you do?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Sprague, anything further?
not at this time, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Wood, if you could unmute your microphone if you have any questions for this witness.
Yes, I just have a question regarding the incident when I stopped and I spoke with you. So you're stating that I got very irate, or the other person did because of the way you were addressing a child, and not the adult, right? How irate? How were they getting irate? What were they doing?
She got very angry. Her tone got angry. She started waving her hands in the air. It was like, let's go. You don't need to talk to our son. You need to talk to us adults. And I looked at you, I said, that's what I'm trying to do. You were there.
I guess I was.
All right, Miss
Um,
Wood, what's this person's name?
Mariah
What's her last name?
Mans.
Mariah Mans?
Yep.
Manns?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
But I don't know if getting a louder tone and waving her hands would be getting irate with you to where it's point.
Just a minute. Miss Sprague, you're still screen sharing your Facebook
Oh,
change on.
My apologies. Thank you.
I'll get you. No, she's not in Sturgis, honey.
Okay, other questions for Miss Terry?
Yeah, when was the last time that you seen Mariah Mans?
I just let the judge know that I haven't been taking my child to the bus stop. So I just started back this week for the last 2 months. So since before Christmas break is the last time I remember seeing her.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing else.
All right. Okay, Miss Terry, you're excused.
Thank you.
Next, we'll call Demetrius Ruffins.
I think, we hope. Good afternoon, sir. I'm Judge Middleton. Could you state your name, please?
Demetrius Ruffin,
Could you spell your first name and your last name?
Demetrius
Ruffin, no S. Could you take your hat off, please?
Sure.
All right, you raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm any testimony you're about to give here will be true to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
All right, Ms. Sprague?
Mr. Ruffin, what is your title? What do you do for employment?
I work at Keystone.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Are you the caretaker for Miss Terry and her
Yes, I'm
children?
a caretaker. Yes, a caretaker. Yes.
Okay. Does that allow you to be on the property frequently?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the defendant?
I know she lives here. Yes.
Okay. Have you seen the defendant that's on the screen labeled Destiny Wood previously?
Just passing through, talked to her real quick out in the yard
Okay.
with about her kids.
Have you observed her children on the property?
Yeah, behind the playground.
Okay. And have they been supervised when you've observed them?
No.
Okay. Did you have reason to try to correct their behavior? Regarding,
Couple of times. Yeah, a couple
Okay.
of times.
was it regarding vulgar language in front of other children?
Just hearing them outside talking that way. Yes.
Okay. And then earlier this year, did someone come to Miss Terry's apartment that you answered the door for?
Yes, it was a short black gentleman asking about a lost dog.
Okay. And where did he say that he resided?
702C.
Okay. And can you describe what the dog, what type of dog the man was looking for?
She had a black and white pit mix.
Okay. Thank you. And have you tried to speak with Miss Wood regarding her children and the lack of supervision?
Once I heard
We're having trouble with that microphone, Mr. Ruffin. You have to kind of turn that way to make sure we
Okay,
can hear you.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I talked to him once about his language to the little girl at the house.
Okay. All right. And then do you have any reason to believe that there is an additional adult occupant of 702? See,
I don't know. I'm just going by what that gentleman told me when he was talking about the lost dog. Other than that, no.
okay, thank you, Mr. Ruffin. No further questions for this witness.
All right. Do you have anybody else?
I have several other witnesses that are corroborating. Are you asking Ms. Wood if she has questions for?
No, yeah. Do you have any questions for Mr. Ruffin?
Yes, back to the date when Herman came to your door and he stated that he lived with me. Are you 100% positive that he stated that, or was it that I live in 702 and for you to come there if you knew where the dog was?
No, ma'am, he said that if you find or see the dog, I'm right over at 702C. Just come and tell us, and then we'll take care of the dog or come and get it.
All right.
Right.
Destiny, his name was Herman.
Yeah.
It'd be Herman Moore.
Yes, sir. Unfortunately.
All right. Are there further questions?
So yeah, he did not state that he lived here.
Well,
just wanted
you
to-
weren't there, so I
Objection,
don't know.
that's-
I'm saying that's what he stated. I'm asking him, like,
Yes.
he said that
Well,
he
what
would be
said is
over
I'm
here.
over at 702C.
Right.
That's different than saying he lived there.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions for him?
No.
All right. Ms. Sprague, any last witnesses you have?
I have several other, but they're only corroborating regarding the allegations of noise complaints and lack of supervision of the children. In the interest of preserving time, we'd be willing to stop at this point.
Hey, Your Honor.
Have
Or
a
just-
witness, Evans.
Evans.
Witness Evans was not able to be here, so that exhibit won't be entered today.
All right.
That would have been another corroborating and regarding the children's actions.
Are you going to have other testimony about an unauthorized tenant living there? Or did we hear that?
What had been indicated was that the unauthorized occupants were observed on several times by the tenants that had already have already testified.
All right.
And-
well, the strongest points in your termination petition, there are numerous ones. The more straightforward is an unoccupied tenant. Then you've got an unlawful pet. You've got smoking. You've got damage to the unit. Some things are straightforward and some aren't, but it doesn't appear we've got any smoking gun about a tenant living there. Often we'll take testimony about cars in the parking lot in the morning and after work and seeing the person there day after day. It's quite common. People will get in a subsidized apartment. The rent is quite low. Someone will move in secretly. In fact, it happens almost every week at landlord-tenant court. And so sometimes it's an issue in these cases. It is clear we aren't going to finish this. You haven't yet rested, and Ms. Wood hasn't had a chance to present her case. I blocked out 2 hours. I had a terrible